Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Gentleman Pursuits podcast. Remember to press that follow button in front of you if you like this podcast and would like to know more about your favorite watches and brands in the future. Drop a follow. You'll know more. You watch lovers. So, how's everyone doing with this quarantine life? It feels almost like a zombie apocalypse where no one is on the street. Yeah? And supermarkets are empty. You're starting to count how many days you can survive with the food you bought from last week. And the general atmosphere and mood is just eerie and weird. But I hope you guys are still healthy and happy even when this crazy thing is going on. Man, it's so weird to think that 6 months ago this COVID-19 disease was not heard of at all. Then all of a sudden it's the only thing that people will talk about. Yeah, how crazy is that? In the horology world, there are a lot of unheard of brands and watches that once you discover them may shock you as much as the COVID-19. In this episode, I want to talk about the brand Credor. So if you Google the name Credor or Credor, I don't know, Credor, there probably isn't much about it. But if you Google Seiko Credor, more things start to show up. And yes, the brand is owned by Seiko, the brand that make affordable quartz watches. So back then when quartz, first came out, it actually wasn't considered as a bad or lower end material. Of course, people had the same mentality as us when it comes to technology. When iPhone 4 came out, everyone ditched their iPhone 3G. And when iPhone 5 came out, iPhone 4 doesn't seem to be that fancy anymore. So Seiko, being the king of quartz technology, obviously wanted to, ride the wave into becoming one of the biggest watch manufacturers in the world. Crater is a French word for golden crest. And no, I will not try to pronounce the French word to make a fool of myself, of course. But yes, the Japanese brand created, another brand with a French name. Reasons is to trick people into thinking, or at least associate the brand with high quality or luxurious lifestyle that only a few can attain. Just like the name Haagen-Dazs or what else? Kodak. The reason why Haagen-Dazs just popped into my head is because the name Haagen-Dazs, everyone knows it means nothing. Right? So these names basically started out with no meaning, but it's the branding of the name that mattered. To stand out from the crowd, from the Seiko and Grand Seiko crowd, one must use a completely different name. So ultimately, Seiko went with Credor. Now, the one Credor watch I want to bring more attention to is the Credor HE2. This watch, judging by the look of it, has nothing special about it. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing, like capitalized nothing. White dial, 3 hands, hour, minute, and seconds, and the name Credor. That's it. There really isn't much more to describe. But here's the catch. Have you guys ever heard of the man or the brand Philippe Dufour? If you have heard of it, if you have heard of the brand, that means you really are a true watch enthusiast. But it's okay if you've not. That's why I'm here. So Philippe Dufour is a brand that requires almost no marketing or advertisement to promote itself. For those who know it, you will know why, because the quality of the watch made by the brand is so out of the world, and is made by Philippe Dufour himself from start to finish. And for those who have never heard of the brand, you eventually will. From your friends, from the community, you will eventually stumble upon this brand. And this is how powerful this brand is. Now, why would I bring this up? Seiko's Credor is perhaps their, it's like Seiko's Thanos glove or their Thor's hammer. to break into the high-end watch market. They want to compete head-to-head with Patek Philippe and Rolex. And guess who Seiko brought onto their team to establish this micro studio for Credor? Mr. Philippe Dufour himself. Now back to the HE2. The white dial, at first glance, seems to be nothing, right? But it's more than just plain boring nothing. It is actually white enamel. And it doesn't stop there. The enamel material was handled by the legendary craftsman Mitsuru Yokosawa, a 40-year veteran craftsman who has been working with the enamel material since 1971. Enamel is perhaps one of the easiest material to break, right? And Mitsuru Yokosawa is perhaps it's also the only person who can do this in the world. But wait, there's more. The HE2 took the term hands-made to another level. While most watches have their markings on the dial printed, the HE2 has its marking hand-painted onto the dial, and it can take up to a day to finish one. And there's only one person in the micro studio that's doing this, so it can take forever to make how many watches they have to make, yeah? If the dial itself doesn't amaze you enough, try looking at the back. I can't really describe how beautifully complicated it is. The name Credor, the movement reference number, and the power reserve indicator, they all come together to form this beautiful picture, and it can all be seen on the back of the watch. This level of excellence and craftsmanship is rare, and it's definitely non-replaceable. This may explain why the watch is sitting with a jaw-dropping $60,000 price tag. Now, what do you think about this Credor HE2 watch? Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of the podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button in front of you. I'm not sure if you're listening this on Spotify or Anchor, but either way, make sure you're following me on every social media platform, on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Anchor, Spotify, everything. Just make sure you're following me. You'll get the latest news on articles, uploads, podcasts, new news, all kind of posts on watches and whiskeys. If you're not, you're missing out. So yeah, make sure you're following us. And until next Sunday, have a great week, guys. Stay safe. I'll see you guys.